This is going to be a tutorial on how to brainstorm and then later take that brainstorm to create a draft from your brainstorm. Oftentimes when we want children to start writing, we may give them a topic and expect them to just start giving information because it's maybe a topic that they know well. However, the first step of the writing process of brainstorming is important so that they can actually start putting those ideas together. So here might be one. If, say, the writing prompt is my family, this is how I would start. I'm going to put my family in a little bubble in the middle of my paper. This is one graphic organizer way to do this. And in my family, I'm now going to just think, who is in my family? So right now I'm thinking, okay, who lives in my house? So I have Nina, who is one of my cats, because she's part of my family. I also have Ming, who is another part of my family, one of my other cats. And then I have my wife, the other part of my family, and that makes the three of us. So then, as I'm going to start narrowing this down a little bit of brainstorming, I'm going to pull my focus to just one of the bubbles to start. So I'm going to start with Nina. Nina is a cat. She is calico. She is that definition of scaredy cat. Now, as I'm writing this, one of the things that I'm going to note is, well, what if I don't know if I'm spelling a word correctly, like scaredy? Maybe I'm not sure about that. That's okay. This is brainstorming step one. This is not where we worry about spelling. So we're going to go ahead and I can put a little note to myself. I put my SP in parentheses next to it, and that tells me that later on, if I so wish, I can look up to double check, am I spelling that word correctly? But I'm going to keep moving past it because that's not until the second to last step of editing. So I'll continue with Nina. She's a cat, she's a calico, she's a scaredy cat. Let's see, she will growl when the doorbell rings. So I'm going to put growl at doorbell. She loves to watch birds. And when it comes to mealtime, she will always eat second. Even though we feed Nina and Ming at the same time, Nina will wait and let Ming go first. So I'm going to go ahead now and think, okay, that might be all I have about Nina right now that I can think of, as I'm just kind of dumping my brain out here. So next I'm going to move on to Ming. And then, let's see, Ming is also a cat. And I'm not sure what kind she is, so I'm not going to list anything. It's okay if I don't know some of these things. So Ming is also 15 years old. So she's also a little grouchy because of her age. So I'm going to add that to the 15-year-old part to branch off because they're kind of connected. But coming back to just Ming, she is 12 pounds. She was born in a barn in Iowa. And I first got her from a friend. As I'm thinking about this and adding some of the details for Ming, it may start jarring some things that I can think to add for Nina, such as where did I get her from? So I'm going to switch for a moment and just go back to that one. So Nina I got from a vet tech school. So she was kind of a rescue. Let's see. Oh, and that vet tech school was in Illinois. So see how I am adding that off as a branch from the school itself. It was in Illinois. Then I think a little bit more for Ming. I know that Ming, she will try to herd us when she thinks it's time to go to bed at night. Even though, you know, I still want to watch TV for a little bit. Let's see, she is also what we call a nurse because she's really, really good with sick people in a special way that she's not good with everybody else. So that gets added under the nurse part. So that'll be the part that I have there. And then I can go to my wife and put, all right, so what do I know about her other than she's really nice? She is she was a project manager a long time ago. But then, as she was working up, she then later became a data analyst and then a business analyst. So I'm going to add that. My wife also likes hiking. And she had a cat when she was younger, named Smokey. I wonder if you can guess why the cat was called Smokey. What do you think? If you said it was because she was gray, you're absolutely right. She was gray. Let's see. My wife is also a really good cook and baker. And everything she does is gluten-free and tastes awesome. So that's going to be simply how I'm going to start with my brainstorming. And then I could definitely go on for this. If I had some more time, I could keep going and think about what more do I know about Nina that I can start adding more bubbles. And then go a little bit further. Growling at the doorbell, I could add something else, like maybe one time when she was growling at the doorbell. Or I could add connected to watch birds, I could add when she went to go chase a crow and bite it by the leg. That could be something that I got to add, but I can save that for now, just to show for a tutorial how to now create a draft from your brainstorm. So we're going to go ahead and switch which kind of paper we're actually going to use. And this time my preference is going to be one that has lines on it, so that we can also work on a little bit better handwriting than maybe what I would have used here in my brainstorming, because it gets a little bit better each time. So this is going to get organized. We're going to bring this back a couple of times. My family is going to be the title of my work here. So I'm going to use those top couple of lines and make sure that I'm actually using the lines themselves for my writing to make sure my penmanship is working right. So I'm touching the top lines, the bottom lines, wherever they need to be. So now I'm going to think, all right, I need to think kind of some paragraphs here. And again, this is just my draft, that's it. So I am going to talk about Nina, and I'm going to write a 1 on her, 2 on Ming, and 3 on my wife. And that's going to be the order then, for right now, that I'm going to write a draft, meaning just some paragraphs to start putting these ideas together. So Nina is going to be the first one. So I'm going to pull her over to the side just for a moment. And for Nina, I'm going to start my paragraph by giving my 1 finger space for an indent for the beginning of my paragraph, and start with Nina and her name, because that's the main part of what's inside of her bubble. So Nina. Once I put that first letter, I can take my finger away because I have my space. And I will say Nina is one of the cats in my family. Did you see how I connected my family here to the topic here? Totally on purpose. So now I'm going to look at my paper real quick. I have Nina is one of the cats in my family. So let's look back at our brainstorming. Well, I now said Nina, so I can cross her off. I said she's a cat. Perfect. And I have in my family. Well, that's still part of the main thing. So now I get to look at a couple of more things here and figure out, well, what do I want to add next? Well, I can say she is a calico and your typical scaredy cat. So I'm going to add those next. So she is, notice I started right up at against the line on the edge of the paper for the next line. She is a calico and a typical scaredy cat. But remember, I'm not really sure if I'm spelling scaredy right, so I'm going to put SP for spelling so I know to go back to that later. Because again, I don't worry about my spelling until the editing step. Alright, so back here, we now used calico, we used scaredy cat, and now I'm going to talk about where I got her, at a vet tech school in Illinois. I got her from a vet tech school in Illinois. So let's see what we can cross off there. Vet tech school, Illinois. So I now have growling at doorbell, watching birds, and she eats second. So that's where I can kind of scooch up just a little bit. So I'm going to continue my story about Nina. And I'm going to save the eat second for probably my last line, because that's going to be a good transition to be like, well, second after who? It's going to be after Ming. So I will add that at the very end. So I'm going to focus on the watching the birds and the growl at the doorbell. So I can say, whenever the doorbell rings, comma, Nina growls. Okay, so I can go ahead and cross that one off. But she does like watching birds from the glass door. All right, watch birds. My last one now, eat second. That's after Ming. So let's see where I can put that in. I'm going to read over a little bit of what I have. Whenever the doorbell rings, Nina growls, but she does like watching birds from the glass door. She also likes to eat that's how she got to be. Are you ready? Can you guess how heavy she is? One guess. Next guess. 15 pounds. However, when it's time to eat, she always eats. Say she always waits to go second after Ming. My other cat is done. Then I come back to my brainstorming bubbles, eat second. I now have everything here, and I'm ready to move on to Ming as my next paragraph, which then of course I would switch to green just to show, and then I would continue writing. But this is simply how to brainstorm, and then taking this brainstorm and then create a draft from your brainstorm. And then that gets turned into a paragraph that now says, my family. Nina is one of the cats in my family. She is a calico and a typical scaredy cat. I got her from a vet tech school in Illinois. Whenever the doorbell rings, Nina growls, but she does like watching birds from the glass door. She also likes to eat. That's how she got to be 15 pounds. However, when it's time to eat, she always waits to go second after Ming, my other cat. After Ming, my other cat, is done. So by adding this comma here, as I was reading aloud, I could hear in the reading that it needed that punctuation, which I can add right now simply because I'm noticing it. However, I'm not going to actually worry about my punctuation and my spelling until I get to the editing phase of one of my final drafts. So this is just the first draft. I may move around where sentences are later. I may add in some more details later. So this is, again, just the first draft of how you get to this step from brainstorming, the first step of writing.